we're in the wrong spot. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin, and for today's video we are going to be doing a video that I feel like is long awaited but also coming at the perfect time. And that is my book talk for A Heart So Fierce and Broken by Brigid Kemmerer. If you didn't know, this is the sequel to A Curse So Dark and Lonely. It is the second book in the Cursebreaker series, and in the first book we are following a girl named Harper. It's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and so she needs to fall in love with this prince in order for him to break this curse. Harper doesn't want to be there because she was whisked away from her hometown, and that's super stressful, but at first her and Ren get off on the wrong foot, and then from there chaos ensues, but also so does romance. There's a little bit of a love triangle, which I actually loved in the first book. I'll have my review linked down below if you're interested in checking that out. This is going to be spoilery and non-spoiler, but it's going to be spoilery for the first book. So if you haven't read that, I'll link the first review in the description below so you can check that out and see if this is something that you're interested in reading. Like I said, this is the sequel, and spoilers for the first book start now. We are following Gray in this one as he is not living with Ren in the castle anymore, and he's taken on a new name, which is Hawk, I believe, because he is the heir to the throne. He's the rightful heir. He's also like the last person with magic. And so he's living in a different town with a different identity. Ren and Harper really want to find him because they don't know why he left, but they have a feeling that he's still alive. And things ensue from there. It gets crazy, but something that I feel like not a lot of people knew, and I definitely didn't know going into this book, is that this book is primarily Gray's book. We get Ren's point of view, I think, for maybe 3 chapters, and that's it. Otherwise, we are following Gray and Liamara, who is a new character that we're introduced to in this book and ends up being Gray's love interest, which I don't think is a spoiler because Brigid Kemmerer has been super open about that. But yeah, so be forewarned that Ren and Harper aren't really in this book at all. I think we get Harper's point of view once, and that's it. First of all, my rating, I gave this one a 4.25 stars, like 4 stars. I didn't love it necessarily as much as the first book, but I think that's because I didn't know the direction we were going in necessarily. I especially didn't know that Ren and Harper weren't going to play as much of a role in this book, at least from their perspectives. So yeah, that was a little bit off-putting, but not necessarily a bad choice. I just wish I had gotten warned a little bit ahead of time. Some things that I didn't love about this book, I felt like Gray had more of an attitude and also like an air of arrogance to him, which I really didn't like. I hate, like, my biggest pet peeve is when people are cocky and arrogant. Like, that is the biggest turn off to me. I hate it so much. There's confidence and then there's cockiness, and that's a fine line, and I feel like Gray crossed it many times and I didn't like that. He wasn't the soft-spoken, like, soldier that we knew in the first one, and that's obviously great because there was character growth, but at the same time it was really frustrating because he seemed completely different in a way that, like, I wasn't really on board with or following entirely. So that might just be me. I haven't really seen that tons. But also Ren was completely different in this book, and I understood it to, like, a degree, but I didn't it didn't sit well with me. It didn't make sense to me to the extent that it went. It just seemed like he did a total 180, and I didn't really like that. All of the character growth that we spent book 1 building up made so much sense, and it feels like with this book it was all destroyed, and I didn't really like that. Harper was definitely true to herself. I love Liamara. She's one of my favorite heroines of all time that I've ever read from, and I love that she keeps people on their toes. She isn't completely sure of herself, but she works on that throughout the book. And she doesn't have the perfect body. That's mentioned many times throughout the book, but that's not something that she's shamed for, and it's something that she comes to accept about herself. At least from what I read, that's what I understood. Correct me if you think I'm wrong. And it's also been a little bit since I've read this, so my thoughts are not great, like, as clear as they would be if I had just finished this yesterday. My dog wants a toy from one of the other dogs, and they're not giving it to him. He's a little needy. Some things that I loved about this book, I love the characters, including the side characters, so much. I love the relationship that forms between Gray and Jacob, as well as between Gray and Noah. I love that development in their relationship because at first they're definitely not on the right foot, which makes total sense. But by the end of the book, their relationship has completely changed and there's an entirely new dynamic to it. And again, I just loved that. I also loved, like I said, so many of the side characters. It was just so freaking good. And I've looked up fan art, and one of my favorite characters from this entire book is not in any fan art, and I cannot for the life of me understand why. Because I love this character so much, and we'll get into that in the spoilery section. I also loved the use of magic in this book, and we're learning it with Gray since he didn't even know that he had it to begin with, and we're learning, like, you know, how it works, what the limitations are together, because Gray has no idea. And so for that, I really liked how Bridget Kemmerer implemented it into the story. So I don't know that I have anything else to say that's not spoilery, so we're going to get into that now. I'm also going to set this down for a little bit because it's hurting my arm. But let's talk about some of my favorite things in this book, and also just let's just gush about it. Honestly, that's what the spoilery section is. When Gray knocked everyone out in the courtyard, I literally had to read it a couple of times because I was like, wait, what happened? Like, I don't understand. And then I realized that it was like his magic that did it. And then a couple pages later, the characters figured out that it was his magic that did it. And I was like, oh my God, homeboy is powerful. I also love how, like, sassy but eloquent Liamara is. And I love, oh, what's his name? I love Isaac. And I love, is his name Tycho? Love Tycho, love Isaac. Why is he not in any fan art? It makes me so mad. My favorite character in the whole book, by far. And I just love him. I want more creatures like him. I'm obsessed with him. When he first spoke, I was like, oh shit. Ah! And then I just thought it was wicked funny that, because I'm pretty sure the first thing that he said was sarcastic, and he has super dry humor, which I love because, like, that's my sense of humor. But can we talk about at the end of the book when Liamara killed her mother? I was like, yes. I have never been more proud of a character. And then the fact that she took over, like, the kingdom was hers because she killed her mother. Loved it. It was so good. And I'll be honest, because I do this thing where I check how many pages are in a book, but I don't use Goodreads to do that because Goodreads includes all of, like, the extra stuff, and I'm like, okay, but how many more pages of the book do I have to read? You know what I mean? Because I'm not gonna, like, sit there and read through the acknowledgements, if I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, sometimes I do, but not typically. But I wanted to see how many pages there were, and I saw, like, a spoiler where Liamara was queen, or maybe it was that I looked up the summary for A Vow So Bold and Deadly. I don't really remember exactly what happened, but either way, I was spoiled for the fact that Liamara was queen, and I was like, how is that possible? Like, did she kill her sister? Like, I'm so confused. And when Nola Varin was going to go and get Liamara, I was like, can you just have a backbone for a second? Like, 2 seconds, please. That would be great. Like, you said that your sister is the other half of your heart, but you're gonna go kill her? Like, feed her lamb to the slaughter? Like, what are we doing here? No, not acceptable. But I was really shocked when she said that she saw the other girl in the woods and let her live. I was like, okay, like, you have some redeeming qualities. When Liamara killed her mother, I was honestly so proud. I hated Karis Loran so much. She just was not, don't even get me started on her. One of my least favorite characters, like, ever. Definitely love to hate her, but not as much as the freaking, what's her name? Lillian, the Enchantress. How is she still alive? I need her to not be. I kind of hated that was like a resurrection kind of thing going on, because I don't like the the resurrection. Why can't I speak? So yeah, not a big fan of the resurrection trope, but I didn't hate it in this one. Didn't love it still because it was like kind of annoying, but I didn't hate it. I mean, it makes sense because Bridget Kemmerer needed a villain for the third book other than like the two against each other. But I will say, I am so freaking excited for A Vow So Bold and Deadly. Getting all 4 perspectives of these main characters is going to be so intense and definitely break my heart because, like, how am I supposed to choose which side I'm on and which side I want to support? Because I'm definitely probably going to choose both because I love Harper, I love Leomara. The guys are okay, but like, I'm here for the girls. It's gonna be heart-wrenching because they're gonna go to war and I really hope nobody dies. I hope Bridget Kemmerer doesn't do that to us. This is her first like fantasy series conclusion, and so this is at least that I've ever read. And so I don't know how ruthless she's gonna be. She hasn't been terribly ruthless so far, so like maybe everything will be fine. But also I don't know. And I'm nervous. Let me know what your theories are in the comments below. Definitely put like spoilers and leave some space so that people who haven't read this series don't get spoiled for anything. But oh my goodness, this is going to be amazing. But yeah, hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you're doing well reading, mentally, and otherwise. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye guys.